After the election, many were raising awareness about the issue of fake news sites online, specifically fake news sites that have been shared over and over again on social media platforms like Facebook. Well, there was another force playing a role within this election, and it was Twitter bots. Essentially, bots that spread fake news, and they do it very effectively. And so researchers started looking into this, including some researchers from Oxford University, and they found out that pro-Trump bots played a significant role on Twitter leading up to the election. Now, according to the new memo compiling data from the election by a team of researchers, including Oxford University professor Philip Howard, automated pro-Trump activity actually outnumbered automated pro-Hillary Clinton activity by a 5-to-1 ratio by election day. Now, let me be clear about something. Obviously, the pro-Trump bots were more of an issue, but both parties were still doing it. And I think that that is beyond ridiculous, and it does have an impact on the electorate. Now, the researchers here didn't measure the impact it had. They just simply showed how often it was happening and exactly what they were doing, what the strategy was. Now, Democrats could vote on a different day,
which is what sometimes they would say.
Yeah, so they would spread misinformation, and this is what it included. Democrats could vote on a different day than Republicans, which of course is not true. Clinton had a stroke during the final week of the election, which again was not true, and that an FBI agent associated with Hillary's email investigation was involved in a murder-suicide. Again, information that was not true, that was debunked by actual legitimate news organizations. Now, of the approximately 18.9 million tweets generated during the last week of the campaign, 55.1% were pro-Trump and 19.1% were pro-Hillary.
So you'd be surprised how susceptible people are to this. There are a ton of people in this country who really believe that Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton are literal murderers. Not when Bill Clinton dropped bombs, they like that. No, they're like, they go around in the woods and they're like, oh, here's a political opponent, and they cut them all up. So not only is Vince Foster, they spread a specific rumor about how they had an FBI agent and his wife murdered. And it looked like a murder-suicide. He shot the wife and then he killed himself. And you're like, oh my God. And they include fake news stories, etc. And then the Clintons did it. And then, like, I'm telling you, this is underestimated. I think that a giant chunk of this country are conspiracy theorists.
Yeah.
And so when they hear that, ooh, that's catnip for them, right? And then they see the FBI reopen the investigation. They're like, I knew it. I knew it. It confirmed for them all the fake memes that they got, by the way, not just on Twitter, but also on Facebook. And look, it's not just the right wing. Let's call it like it is. I know I took a tremendous amount of heat also from liberals when Hillary Clinton had that fainting spell or whatever she had, right? Mm-hmm. Jank, you're covering for our... you're being a Hillary. She's obviously mentally deranged or has massive issues. Well, then why did she sound perfectly lucid in all the debates? Oh, she's got a body double. Now, the liberals weren't stupid enough to believe the body double. I hope not, okay? Mm-hmm. But they believed that there was something like massively mentally wrong with her, but there wasn't. She's fine. The thing that was wrong with her is she was establishment and didn't know how to appeal to voters, okay? That was the only thing wrong. But people love conspiracy theories. Now, I actually blame Hillary Clinton for not understanding the power of digital media. Now, in this case, the researchers believe that it is likely that it wasn't Trump's campaign itself that did this. Mm-hmm. Partly it was because Trump's not savvy enough.
They literally said that. They're like, that's a little too brainy for Trump and his camp.
And they asked his campaign, they're like, what? What's a bot? What's a ground game? So now it just might have been tech-savvy Americans, and there are who are libertarians, et cetera, and who wanted to support Trump, and a bunch of guys on Reddit are very smart with this stuff, and then they brag about, we tricked Americans into voting for a monster. Congratulations, by the way, on that. Mm-hmm. Or, by the way, another theory is, and I don't really care who did it, so like don't get all emotional when I say this word. Ready? Russians. Okay, so it might have been the Russians because they wanted to be involved. They bragged afterwards how they were involved. Mm-hmm. And so I would see, even on my account, things that I'm like, wait, those tweets look the same.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And it wasn't just the Trump people, that the Clinton people did too.
Yes, absolutely.
And there was so much crap going on during the election, which, by the way, all of a sudden after the election, I don't have those same tweets of the people. And then there was the tweets that came pretending to be from concerned liberals,
Yep.
but who were actually right-wingers trying to have dissension within the Democratic Party. And all of a sudden, those are gone too.
Yes.
So I don't, by the way, I don't particularly care if it's the Russians or not. It doesn't make it more evil if it's the Russians. It doesn't make it less evil if it's the Russians. But you got to be on the lookout for this because it does exist.
Yeah, the only thing that matters is that it does exist. It certainly exists during this past election, and it had an impact. Again, it's difficult to measure how much of an impact it had, but remember, a lot of people don't rely on mainstream media for their information anymore. A lot of people are cord cutters who don't even have cable anymore. And so they go online and they consume news on social media platforms. And the most difficult part of this to kind of stomach is that social media platforms like Twitter, in the beginning, were great because they were a way to mobilize people. It was a way of spreading important information that wasn't being covered by the mainstream media. A good example of that was when Wendy Davis from Texas did that incredible filibuster of that anti-abortion legislation that was being proposed, right? And so the mainstream media didn't want to cover that, but people were live tweeting it and talking about what was happening with the protests outside and how much of an impact that had. And so now you have bad actors co-opting or taking over these social media platforms to spread misinformation, to spread paranoia, to spread fear, and to have, this disgusting impact on our presidential election. And it's just the fake media, the fake news, and these bots bother me so much more than anything else that went on during this election.
And so, by the way, we're not saying shut them down. We're not saying shut down Facebook and Twitter because there's bad actors on there. We understand there's bad actors in the world. At the same time, we got to give you a heads up on this so you don't believe all that crap that comes in. You've got to ask for a source, right? Just because it's a clever meme doesn't mean that it's true. So, by the way, the other trick that they do is bots. So they'll say, oh, like Donald Trump bragging about millions of people follow me on Twitter. Michael Schur had the best line all the way back in 2012 when Donald Trump was thinking of running back then. He's like, why do you think the American people want you as their president? He's like, I have, at the time, I think it was like 2 million Twitter followers, right? He's like, Snoop Dogg has more.
Yeah.
But by the way, we're now descended into this kind of madness. Maybe he'll run next time. Right now, we have reality stars as presidents. So anyways, so my favorite of those stories was Newt Gingrich. When we found out, I think it was around 90% of his Twitter followers were from Bangladesh.
Newt Gingrich, a big deal in Bangladesh.
Oh yeah, you can't buy a beer in Bangladesh. So meanwhile, so people can't figure out sometimes, like I send a tweet or I retweet and it gets like thousands of retweets. And they're like, but you only have like 250,000, you say only 250,000 followers because all these guys buy their followers. So if you're, big in media or a big politician, everybody's like, oh, I've got 2 million, I've got 8 million, but it's horse crap, right?
Yes.
So they send a tweet, it gets retweeted by 4 people. You're like, wait, you got 8 million followers, it got retweeted 4 times? Whereas our 250,000 for me is real. It's all real people. We ain't got no money to buy no bots, okay? Bots? We're not talking about bots.
Yep.
So, but that goes to your point, Anna, which is that it also has a good side. Because when you mobilize 257,000 people on Twitter, and we got 1.3 million on Facebook. I've got another 250,000 on my own Facebook. On YouTube, we have around 6 million. You mobilize those guys, and that's got power.
Yes.
So you want to use your fake bots? Well, we've got real human beings. I bet they beat your bots. All right, let's have a bot war, right? You have your fake ones, we have our real ones. I bet that we win at that. Now, but it's a mess. Don't get me wrong, it's not going to be an easy battle. And these guys are savvy. They do tricks, by the way, like co-opting Hillary's hashtags, like I'm with her, and then put the misinformation in there. They're like, oh, I can't wait to vote on Thursday. I'm with her. Okay. So you think, no, most people aren't going to vote with her. You're right, most people aren't, but some are. And she lost one of those critical Rust Belt states by 12,000 votes. So it's on. But one of the people who doesn't realize it's on as much, though, is Hillary Clinton. So my last thought is this. You know, she did almost no interviews in digital media. They were on TV a million times. You couldn't turn on cable news without running into Robbie Mook. Okay? And you got Jennifer Palmieri, you had Podesta, you had all these people, let alone everybody else that works in media that were all pro-Hillary anyway, wall to wall. And then digital media, they're like, oh, yeah, I mean, sure. Digital media. Are young people on there? Are progressives on there? No, we're not going to go on digital media. How'd that work out for you? We need independent media to make sure that we hold corporate media accountable. The people that can make that happen is you. You make the Young Turks possible. tytnetwork.com/join. Join us. Be the revolution.